A look at one of America's most iconic personalities and the adult magazine powerhouse he founded in 1953, giving birth to a brand and a company logo recognizable throughout the world. The debonair ladies' man who sparked the sexual revolution by providing brash intellectual commentary and volumes of naked playmates. A talk with 86-year-old Playboy founder Hugh Hefner on the future of Playboy.
One of the great questions was, at 86, what happens after Hefner's gone? And I think we see the answer in my son.
The future of Playboy from Beverly Hills, California.
Hello, I'm Lee Hawkins, and welcome to the Business of Celebrity. Playboy Enterprises. It's an iconic American company with a storied past. We know so much about the legendary founder, Hugh Hefner, but how much do we know about Playboy's future? I had a chance to sit down with Hugh Hefner at the Playboy Mansion and also visited with Scott Flanders, the CEO of Playboy, at the company's new headquarters in Beverly Hills. I even had a chance to talk to Cooper Hefner, who is the youngest son of Hugh Hefner, who also hopes to get involved in the company when he completes college. Would you call him the heir apparent?
Yes.
What is your involvement right now? What kinds of things are you doing with the company?
To tell you the truth, I'm really learning about how it operates. So sitting down, talking to executives, explaining, the different fields, because that's kind of what you need to do with a company this large.
And now Hefner's thinking about his succession plan.
How do you prepare someone like that to fill these shoes?
Well, I let him hang out a lot.
Okay.
And he does that very well.
I'm still impressed with how he does it, so.
Have you learned anything from him about that? About
girlfriends?
Yeah.
Yes, I've learned that he's a good manager. I think that you have to be. If you're gonna have, it's hard enough for me to have one girlfriend.
So what exactly is the job? The elder Hefner functions as the public face of Playboy, but he's chosen to stay out of the day-to-day operations and the turnaround effort at Playboy. Now he's counting on Cooper to assume more of a public role, a challenge that Cooper says he's ready to take on. Young Cooper had his first introduction when he attended the opening of a new Playboy club in London and the annual Playboy Jazz Festival, all a part of building his public image.
A lot of what you're going to be doing is marketing, and you're sitting next to the master marketer here. Does this mean that we're going to start seeing you out front and on the red carpet and having parties and getting your name out there?
We'll see. I think probably, one of my focuses is school, so that is the one thing that's holding me back from being fully involved in the company. But I would say, right when I finish it, I intend on being heavily involved.
The reality is, however, that in the last few months, he has gone and represented the brand in London and Rio. So he's out there.
Yeah.
Tell me about those experiences. What were those activities?
It's like a kid in a candy store.
What did you do when you were at these events?
I hosted actually New Year's at our London club, which was just unbelievable. I felt like I had stepped back into the 60s and 70s. We were, wearing suits. It was snowing in London. It was fantastic. And Rio was, we went down there for Carnival. So that was just unbelievable.
How were you received?
Yeah, in both places, very well. Very well.
Cooper's appearances overseas are an encouraging sign for a company that struggled in recent years, at one point losing as much as $1 million a month to produce its flagship magazine. Now, it's fighting to turn itself around.
Playboy had a perfect storm of problems, both managerial, financial, the economy, changing public tastes, technology, it all went wrong. People wanted more video with Playboy. It was always a print magazine, as we know, and books. And video made Playboy change its style. Management, of course, had trouble adjusting to all of this. And there was the economy having problems as well. So Playboy got from all sides.
Here at the Playboy headquarters, you'll find CEO Scott Flanders, the chief architect behind the company's turnaround strategy. He's looking forward to more success for Playboy, which could include a possible IPO.
When I came, the company was losing money. And it was clear that we were a subscale global media enterprise in a world where there was a consolidation going on. And so we had to rethink the business model, and that's what the board brought me in to do. We decided to outsource all of our operations, and we turned the company into primarily a licensing business. The only product we continue to produce in-house is the U.S. magazine under Hef's leadership.
Flanders, a 14-year executive at book publishing giant Macmillan, was brought in by Playboy in 2009 to help the company after a string of losses.
Take me through the period, that tumultuous period where you came in and made that assessment that you needed to transform the company. What kind of impact did it have on Hef in general to see the pain that the company was going through and to go through this transition?
Yeah, I think the challenge for Hef is, he built this brand and that wasn't being turned into profitability. It's nothing that Hef ever said to me specifically, but I felt it in the body language that he was just disappointed and he wanted change. He didn't know what that change would entail. And in fact, based on my background, the board hired me more as a media turnaround person. But when I got to the company and saw that we were in a single title magazine business in a world where all the magazine players were multi-titled, that our TV business was small and we were subject to the power of the distribution channel, the DirecTVs and Dishes and Comcasts of the world. And I saw us in the digital space where the world was moving towards social and we just had a few websites. That really the way to the future was to go to the core, which was the power of the Playboy brand that Hef built originally, and to get out of the operation of those other businesses and give them up to someone, other companies that were in those businesses and had the scale and the world-class operating expertise to run them.
Playboy had always been a magazine company based on a very strong label as a magazine, and both the company and the public had a harder time adjusting to this change of Playboy being something else. It had done so well for so long as a magazine for adults that I think people didn't really accept Playboy as a video company. And plus there are others doing it better and with more expertise than Playboy was doing video too.
Getting out of the adult TV business was a significant step to you. Would you say that that was the biggest move that the company made in terms of cost structure?
No question. Yeah, that's the biggest move that I've made since I came to the company. We probably would not have been able to make that move had we not taken the company private. We were exploring different alternatives, but with the pressures of quarterly earnings, we had to take big write-offs in order to sell off that business.
Hef still owns 20% of the company, which is the percentage he held when Playboy was public. Flanders also owns 20%, and the remainder is owned by private equity firm Rizvi Travers.
So they have majority control of both the economics of the company and they have control of the board of directors. They have 4 board seats of the 7 board seats. We actually made a small profit in 2010. We lost money in 2009. We restored the company to profitability, but at a low level in 2010. And then we tripled profits in 2011 over 2010. A lot of that was because we were able to take the company private. We went from 3 physical locations to 1. We've just consolidated everyone here in these lovely Beverly Hills offices. And we've reduced our cost structure a great deal because we no longer have to be a public company.
And as Playboy works to turn itself around, some skeptics are wondering if Flanders and his team can do it fast enough. That includes credit rating agency Standard & Poor's, which placed Playboy on credit watch last May with negative implications, questioning Playboy's ability to continue to meet financial targets and requirements related to its restructuring. S&P took Playboy off the watch list in July, but still sees Playboy as vulnerable and highly leveraged, wondering if Playboy has adequate liquidity to meet all of its near-term financial goals. Still, S&P's assessment of Playboy isn't all negative, conceding that Playboy's licensing business has become more stable and will almost certainly benefit from the fame of the Playboy brand. Playboy's Flanders is optimistic, saying Playboy restructured a year ahead of schedule and now will be profitable for 2012. He noted that Playboy has met its financial requirements with regard to interest payments and its agreements with creditors.
It's a great brand name. We all know it. We've all seen it. We've all consumed Playboy. It's a fabulous American brand name, but I don't know how much longer a brand name from the 1950s can go on. As much as we respect Hugh Hefner for his vision and for his accomplishments, people want to see results. It's a different time than before Playboy.
What is Hef's role at the company right now? He's the Chief Creative Officer. What does that entail?
Right, so Hef is Chief Creative Officer is his official corporate title, but day to day he's editor-in-chief of the magazine. I mean, that is his passion. Never a day goes by that he's not doing something, reviewing a photo spread, reading a prospective article, considering a model for a future photo spread. So Hef spends some of every single day, and that's 7 days a week, on the magazine. As a corporate matter, Hef is a delegator of the business day to day. You know, when I was hired, you know, he interviewed me and he told me he didn't want to worry about the day-to-day business. He expected me to take care of that, and that's what I do.
Many are aware of the fact that Hugh Hefner has a daughter, Christy Hefner, largely because Christy served as Playboy's chairwoman and CEO from 1988 to 2009 when she left the company and was succeeded by Flanders.
Is it his wish to keep his family associated with this company and keep ownership in this company?
Well, I don't wish to speak for Hef, but I'll give you my impression and opinion is that absolutely. I mean, you know, Hef could have taken a lot of money out of this company at many different stages. And certainly when we took the company private, had he wanted to sell down his stake, he could have done that. And he chose not to. And so, you know, he has chosen to stay very involved. He's been mentoring Cooper, kept getting Cooper excited about the company, having Cooper represent him, you know, as I said, in Brazil, in London, and now Cologne. And so, you know, every impression I have is that Hef wants his family to continue to be involved. I mean, Christy ran the company for over 20 years.
And although Playboy sold off its adult TV business, it did begin a foray into reality TV in 2005 with Girls Next Door, which aired on the E! Network for 6 seasons.
Trey Bell. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so romantic.
When you look at the social media and the reality shows and all of the things that you've engaged in to stay relevant, do you see yourself getting back into reality shows anytime?
It depends. It depends. In other words, when I originally did Girls Next Door, you know, before that, people had been trying to get me interested in reality shows, and I wasn't much interested in. The only reason I did it was because the emphasis was not on me. The emphasis was on the girlfriends, and I thought that was kind of an inspired notion. In other words, to tell a life of the Playboy Mansion through the eyes of the women. It turned out to be rather inspired and became hugely popular with women. That was a good thing.
Right. And what did that really do for the overall Playboy brand?
I think it expanded in a dramatic way on a global level the brand and the appeal of the brand, so that it was no longer and is no longer perceived simply as a men's brand.
And reality television is one of many ways the Playboy brand has brought mass exposure to its models. Hef's ex-girlfriends Holly Madison, Bridget Marquardt, and Kendra Wilkinson, featured in the show, were offered 2 spin-off shows. And while Playboy may be most notable for featuring nude spreads, Hefner hopes to separate his company from the hardcore porn industry.
Well, I don't think, quite frankly, that part of the business has much to do with me or much to do with the magazine. In other words, the magazine, a long time ago, separated itself from what have been referred to as the imitators. I think the magazine remains relevant and popular because it is a very good magazine. It is the best men's magazine. But I do think that the imitators and the variations on the theme confused the issues in terms of what Playboy is all about. In other words, Playboy isn't a sex magazine. It's a romantic magazine about the relationship between the sexes.
In addition to his responsibilities running the magazine and his active social life, Hefner is a lifelong champion of social causes, from gay and civil rights to free speech.
You know, I'm a First Amendment man.
Right.
The First Amendment is first because it's foremost, it's the most important. In other words, without free speech and press, you don't have a democracy.
One of his most recent displays of advocacy came in May 2012 with a full-page editorial titled "The War Against Sex," in which he responds to the family values platform advocated by many conservative politicians.
Once the Republicans running for president started dragging the old sex taboos back into the picture, and almost all of them did, I just felt something had to be said. I felt as if we had just gone back 20 or 30 years, and I needed to remind people that we won that war, the personal sexual freedom, a long time ago, and we're not going to let somebody else take it away from us.
Young Cooper says that he would continue his father's advocacy in any future role at Playboy. Your father was an outspoken activist for gay rights, outspoken activist for free speech. What kinds of issues are you interested in?
I'm very passionate about gay rights, and I draw a lot of comparisons to, you know, the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s and the no hate campaign of today. I mean, obviously, it's hard for me to fully comprehend what that meant, you know, in the 50s and 60s because I wasn't there. But I think that there are, you know, there's still plenty of things to fight for. And I think that that's what Playboy did well, is have a voice for the underdog and people who weren't able to find their own voice. So,
what do you think of the president's stand now on gay marriage?
I am happy that he came out and said it. I feel like it would have been nice if he would have said it 4 years ago. But you know, it's very positive.
But for a public so desensitized to sex, Playboy may not be nearly as controversial as it once was. Now, amid a market saturated with adult websites and sexually explicit media outlets, and all of them fighting to gain the attention of the young male demographic, Playboy will need to find ways to differentiate itself and to keep its original edge. With young people that you're going to school with, what is the perception of the Playboy brand?
I think that there's a very positive perception. I think that there is a misunderstood perception, but I think that that has always existed.
And what is it? What is the misperception?
I think that religion has a lot to do with the misperception of the brand. I think that dad challenging the social norm. I mean, this is somebody who has 4 girlfriends, but this is also somebody who always challenged what was stereotypically normal.
So how do you keep that tension alive?
How do I keep?
Because that's part of the success of the brand, is the tension, the constant, this guy being on the front lines advocating for the sexual revolution. How do you keep that alive?
You have the same drive and motivation to do it.
And there are the other 6 girls out there waiting to become girlfriends, see?
That's good too.
You might have to jump on. You might have to jump on board.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm still impressed with how he does it. So,
if he obtains a leadership position at Playboy, young Cooper will have to learn to court women just like his father, and not as girlfriends, but as consumers, since women buy a majority of the company's merchandise and apparel. As you go into these other countries, one of the biggest markets for you right now is China, as I understand.
Absolutely.
And it really surprised me when you told me, Scott, that a lot of your consumer products, or the majority of your consumer products, are actually being purchased by women.
Yeah, no, that's what's interesting. If you take China out of the equation, well over half of all of our licensed goods are purchased by women, and our brand is actually more popular among women than it is men.
Okay, and so let's talk a little bit about these licensed goods. What kinds of things are you selling under the Playboy name?
The biggest single category is apparel. Everything from lingerie to men's formal wear in China to beachwear, swimwear. Our largest other category would be fragrances. We have a global partnership with Coty, which is the world's largest branded fragrance manufacturer, and we'll do 8 figures this year in net revenues from that Coty partnership.
Okay, and so as you continue down the line, licensing will be even more of the business, or where do you see that?
Yeah, when I came to the company in 2009, we did about $20 million in global consumer licensing, and this year we'll do $60 million, with over a third of that in China. What's so interesting about that, Lee, is we've never sold a single media product in China. No magazine, no digital site, no television show, and yet the Chinese consumer knows about the Playboy lifestyle, aspires, it says something that they've made it when they associate with our brand.
Flanders' low public profile has left many people still believing that Hef's daughter, Christy, is still the company's chairman and CEO.
I've been very focused these 3 years in turning the company around, and as we've taken the company private, the CEO having a large public profile is not important to our current business objectives. Longer term, we have the aspiration to take the company public again. And as we move in that direction, then it will make sense for us to elevate my profile somewhat.
What kind of timing would that entail?
We're probably 2 years away from it, if I were to guess.
And what will that do for the company to go public again?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the public markets as a branding event. I mean, one detriment to taking the company private, even though it facilitated all of this transformation and turnaround, is that we don't receive quite as much public attention, because as you know, everything's about the stock symbol.
Right.
And when you're on the public markets, you have a different platform of visibility. And for consumer businesses, it's an advantage to be public because you get a lot of free press. Every earnings report, every press release, it gets picked up by all of the mainstream media.
The possibility of Playboy pushing beyond a few years of profits will depend entirely on how it responds to some of the challenges S&P mentioned.
Playboy going public, I don't know. I have doubts about that because it was a company that was public once, obviously, and it's not public anymore for a very good reason, because it didn't quite pan out. Public may say, oh, Playboy, great name, love Playboy's brand name, but Wall Street wants results, and more important than results, they want the promise of future results too.
Young Cooper says it's too early for him to speak in detail about the company's strategy, since he hasn't started working there yet. But with approval of the board of directors, he'll be excited to work for the company in some capacity as soon as he graduates from Chapman University in 2014.
And he hasn't made a decision as to what specifically he would like to do at the company, whether it would be on the business side or the marketing and creative side. Whatever decision he makes, because of the structure of the company, that will need to be approved by the board. Am I correct?
Yeah, certainly. From a governance standpoint, I'm the CEO, I run the company day to day, operational decisions are made by me, subject to the strategic direction and approval of the board. A decision about what Cooper would do in the company will depend more on his talents and his interests than it will on any board decision. I mean, of course,
Right.
we'd like to have him involved.
Right.
He's the look-alike son of the founder. He's charismatic. You interviewed him. He's warm. He's engaging. He's smart. He's funny. Has a great sense of humor. And so we want him to be involved, but at the same time, we don't want to force him down a path that's not aligned with his passions. And just in terms of my personal observation with him, his deepest passion is on the creative side.
Mm-hmm.
He has just a lot of simpatico with his father. And what we're looking at him to do is to channel that Gen Y, interest in social media to make Playboy relevant to that audience for the future.
I think, there's something inspiring about having a new frontier. It's like, many parts of Asia and the Middle East are where America was in the 40s and 50s. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a new market for Playboy.
And in those new markets, young Cooper will still be immediately associated with his father.
Is it hard to be his son? Do you feel any pressure to be a Renaissance man or a Playboy type figure?
I think I would have felt pressure if he would have pressured me to be that. And to tell you the truth, he's always been somebody who's advocated follow your own dreams. I mean, I'm not here because I have to be here. I'm here because I want to be here.
And even as he aspires to break Playboy into new international markets, he still shares his father's affinity for magazines.
I think that the internet is the future. But I also think that I'm somebody, maybe it is because of who my dad is, but I love picking up a magazine and reading it. And I think that there are a lot of people like me. And so I think that...
Young people.
Yeah. So I think that print is not dying out, as many would say. I think that print is just going through an evolution.
What is the balance that you'll strike? Will print be 20% of what you're doing? Will it be 50% of what you're doing?
No, I think it's hard to say, but I don't see the physical magazine going anywhere for a long time.
It remains, I think, in other words, the business grows in a lot of other directions, but the magazine, I think, remains the heart and soul.
It's still your core.
Yeah.
Well, it was the beginning.
As he grooms his son to play a role in the next phase of Playboy, Hef says he'll keep living his life at the mansion with confidence that his son will be more than qualified to handle his new public role. Are you really living that in your life with all the girlfriends and everything, or are you backing away from that?
With 3 or 4 girlfriends, I'm not backing away very far.
So you still have 3 or 4 girlfriends?
Yes, I do. Yeah. They keep me young.
And they also keep your brand out there. What is it that you want for your son in that area? Do you see your son having 3 or 4 girlfriends too?
No, I think that's entirely up to him. You know, I think that, you know, I grew up in a very traditional home, and I tried marriage twice. The fact that it didn't work for me certainly isn't because I didn't want for it to work. I am a very romantic guy, and you know, whether it's in marriage or not, I'm looking for a stable, ongoing romantic relationship. We're going to shoot a cover, and I'm going to put you in the magazine. I think the one thing in my home that was missing was intimacy, emotional intimacy, and physical intimacy. It was a home in which we were not hugged. Maybe to some extent I overcompensated for that with multiple girlfriends. I think that love is my rosebud. In other words, romantic love. I really, I'm only half alive if I'm not in a relationship. In other words, everything is better when you're in love. You have somebody to share your life with.
So, are you misunderstood then?
It depends on who you're talking to. I think some people understand me very well. As I said, my life is an open book with illustrations. But what one sees and how one interprets what they see, because my life is also very controversial. I've dealt with, in a very open way, the things that are touchstones for what motivates us and the things that we repress.
For the Business of Celebrity, I'm Lee Hawkins.